But welcome to our 7th episode. In the beginning, I didn't think it would go this far. We've determined at this stage is not to go to varsity if you don't want to really study. Set the conditions when you go to the unions. So now we're at the 2nd tier or the 3rd tier, and that's Rugby Academies. And I've got a major gripe with Rugby Academies. I know there's one or two that's really trying, that's doing good work and everything, but 95% of the academies out there, and if I put a figure to it, or a number to the amount of academies, it was 2 hours ago 112, and now it's 115. They're popping up all over. I can't see any use in sending your kid to an academy.
Look, people might differ purely for the fact that it is an opportunity in rugby for a kid. Granted, might be the only opportunity, but the hard questions remain. Do you send your kid to an academy untested, uncredited? And there's a lot of questions that one's got to ask now. Is that at some point when Hans Kriebel was still in charge of junior rugby development at SARU, which is not the case anymore, and I'm not saying that he was the only one driving it. I do know that he went around the country to all the so-called academies in existence at the time, and that would include the unions, the different unions. So at the Lions, without the Lions having a junior academy as such, more high performance center, we also did the accreditation process, which we did not fully comply in. Purely for the fact that there was a very well-devised accreditation criteria and guide. So it makes me wonder, are those criteria still valid or not? Do SARU have any say in validating these academies? Or do we now just see that as a business proposal? So if that is the case, then everyone's got to take it as that. This is just a business that's opening. They need numbers. There are lots of numbers available out there. People are desperate to give their kids a sort of a rugby opportunity. So we're not worried about the quality. Let's just go. Some of them might argue that we've got a 50-50 approach. 50% is educational, maybe even more than that. The questions remain. It should be in line, and you will not find this happening in European countries. And I'm not saying European countries are the model for everything of this, but if you are a so-called rugby academy in Europe, you're part of a system, and that system eventually shows or has responsibility to work together with the main body at the top. And I just don't see that happening. It's a free-for-all at the moment, and so-called academies absolutely discredits the amazing rugby growth that has taken place in junior rugby in South Africa over the years. And unfortunately, I also have to pass a lot of the blame to some of our unions, most of our unions, who does not want to take ownership of this, because they are actually supposed to go and have a look at the academies in your immediate environment, to say, well, try and get accredited through your union at least. But unfortunately, I have to agree with you. This looks more and more like a business model that's being made to work for financial reasons than really taking rugby to the next level.
But Bart, it doesn't work. The only time when an academy works is if they produce top rugby players. If they take the guys that was mislooked by the unions and the universities and bring him to prominence and get him through a system where he can become a Springbok or a professional rugby player that plays for one of the big unions and everything. I'm sorry, it's I don't know if most of the people can remember Adrian Nieuwoud and his keepers. I was also, I was doing my articles at that stage and I was also caught out. But if you go on a website and a person asks the guy that operates the Facebook of, and it's a well-known academy, I'm 27 years, am I welcome? And then they answer, yes. If you sit in a meeting with one of the presidents, or I don't know what her position was, but she was the main konijn of that academy that's well known all over South Africa, and you ask her a question, if a guy brings his son, he's 1.2 meters tall and he's 1.1 meters wide and he weighs 150 kilos, will you accept him at your academy? And she says yes. But no, I'm sorry. We've got friends and everything. There is one or two academies that does work, that does create opportunities for their players overseas and that kind of stuff. But 99.9% of the academies doesn't give a. They don't care. As long as the money comes in, they don't care.
Well, Colin, like I say, unfortunately, you've got a lot of desperate people out there. We've got parents that are really willing to fork out money for giving their kids opportunity, which in principle is not wrong. But I don't think, and that's we can argue that there's a very good case for us probably putting together a grading system of academies in South Africa, which will be very tough, because if there's no critical verification of the guidelines you want in an academy, because everyone can actually change what they stand for. No, we're not in for high performance, we are just there to provide for kids that don't get opportunities. So it's easy to get away with this because it's not being managed and driven from the top to say, but the guidelines should be high performance development of young sportsmen. If we don't get there, it will be very difficult, but I'm more than willing to really evaluate all of these academies. And as a matter of fact, I have to be honest, I actually do that. So a lot of parents ask me about my feeling about certain academies, and I would be blunt and honest about it. If I don't know anything about the coaching structures, coaching setup, and the real motives, I'm definitely not going to promote an academy. There are academies, truly, like you say, that has provided opportunities for rugby players to grow through, combined with educational opportunities. So it's not a question of just sweeping all of them under the mat. That's not the case, but they are few and far between, unfortunately, at the moment.
But unfortunately, I mean, we were also sitting and trying to plan a proper academy and everything. The unions allow these academies to play under 20 rugby as part of a club structure and that kind of stuff. And it's not supposed to happen. The guy is supposed to go to a registered club and play rugby, because there's now a new academy in Northwest that's been approved by the Leopards, and they claim they have permission to play in the Bulls under 20 competition. They didn't mention what level of under 20 competition. It could be of the 4th league or something that they don't advertise, but it's wrong. It's simple. It's no, I don't know. I can't see that any person that's honest with himself and his child, doesn't matter how desperate you are, to spend between 80 and 140,000 rand per year on a dream that's not going to happen. Westkoppies is the best place for those parents. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you want real and honest proof, Cole, of products out of these academies. And if I say honest, don't come and tell me that an ex-Springbok player that you recruited into an academy, if I say ex, or someone that's been a very prominent schoolboy player that would have made it through any system to Springbok, and you've recruited him with academy money and bursaries, and therefore he's a product of your academy. I'm sorry, that just don't cut it for me. I want to see a player coming out of a schoolboy system, unknown, going through a high-performance system, like a Kutsia, that's returning to South Africa now, which is one of very few top flight players that's made it to the highest level, coming out of Port Natal through the Sharks Academy. But then again, there's a lot of players being named as as players that's come through academies because they became a Springbok. That to me is not high performance. That's not high performance development. So I want to see you take a player and take him through a high performance development system which is in line with your union, which is in turn in line with SARU. And I'm afraid that there's no cohesion in that process and no verification in that process from what I understand, unless we don't see or hear any of these processes actually taking place.
I think what we must do, I'm going to put an open invite to all academies in South Africa, rugby academies, not soccer, not ballet. If you think you can show us that you are a proper rugby academy that really gives the necessary exposure and training and everything for the kid that you take in. I don't care if you make money. If you make money and you can do that, I will vouch for you. So it's an open invitation. Anybody that's got an academy but he thinks he's worth the name a rugby academy, we will come and do an interview, but we will come and ask serious questions, and we're going to publish it. So if you've got the balls to do it, but you're in for it?
I think that is fair, Carl. It's very easy to provide basic criteria. We all know what we would like to see out of a system like this. So absolutely, I think it's just fair, and I have no doubt the people that's got their ducks in a row will most probably be the first ones reacting. But that's what we want to see, is get it out there. Who are the people that's in it for the real deal?
And we're open for bribes, but that's not going to interfere with our opinion of the academy, right? No. But a last word to the parents also, and I'm going to do it in Afrikaans because 90% of the people wat R140,000 gaan spandeer op hulle kind in 'n rugby akademie is eerste plek hy's 'n Afrikaner, Tweede plek, hy sal enigiets doen vir sy kind, wat fantasties is. Derde plek, het hy nie die 140 tot 80.000 om dit te doen nie. Hy gaan sy huis, verband op sy huis sit en al daai tipe van dinge. Boys, julle is mal. Jy kan jou kind deur die technikon sit, jy kan jou kind, wat noem jy hierdie goeders vir die kursusse vir die, vir plumbers en vir electricians, en ek kyk nie neer op 'n plumber electrician nie, ek wens my maat my gestuur om electrician te word, dan sal ek my nie so baie sjok as ek 'n plug moet aansit nie. Spandeer die geld, as jy daai geld wil spandeer op jou kind, doen dit wat die moeite werd is, want as hy daar is wat hy 'n rugby akademie moet bywoon vir 'n jaar of 2 jaar, dan gaan hy dit in elk geval nooit maak nie. Bart, enigiets wat jy wil byvoeg?
Ja, ons sal graag wil sien wat sy reaksie, Karl. Ek dink dit is dalk miskien 'n baie goeie tyd dat ons hierdie onderwerp aanroer, en dit mag dalk nou lyk asof ons eenparig negatief is oor rugby akademies, glad nie. Ons dink net dat die motiewe nie altyd 100% reg is nie, en dat dit nie die gewenste uitkoms het vir ons spelers nie. En as ek iemand by 'n klub is, sal ek nou sit en sê, maar hoekom is 'n ouer bereid om R150.000 vir sy kind te betaal by 'n akademie, maar hy kan hom gratis na die klub toe bring, en as 10 sulke ouers 'n kwart van daai geld vat en dit in 'n klubsisteem inploeg, kan hulle sorg dat daar 'n goeie afrigter, 'n fisio, en wat se hulpbronne jy ook al nodig het by 'n klub. So ek wil dit omdraai om te sê, daai geld kan baie maklik in 'n klub investeer word, en jou klubsisteem bied vir jou 'n goeie ontwikkelingsgeleentheid vir die kinders. So dis 'n wye stelling, maar ek sou baie graag wil sien hoe verifieer ons uitkoms by 'n akademie.
Ja, miskien 'n handleiding van wat moet 'n regte rugby akademie wees. Jy is ons slim met die goed.
Ja, Sauro het 'n uitstekende handleiding geskryf. Ek weet net nie of hy enigstens toegepas word op hierdie stadium.
So ja, die rugby akademies in my hart, Bart het 1 of 2 ek ken ook 1 of 2 wat ek miskien die moeite gaan doen, maar Bart as 'n pathway tot 'n springbok, gaan nie enige van die akademies dit vir jou doen nie. So jy gaan moet besluit wat jy doen, en die vader weet, as 'n kind vir jou 'n brief bring van 'n akademie af wat sê, jou kind is gekies uit 'n uitsonderlike klein groep spelers om die akademie by te woon, en dit kos jou R140.000, dan sluit dit nie eers jou kos in nie. Moenie dit gebruik om toiletpapier te spaar nie, want daai papier wat hulle dit opgedruk het, is van sulke swak kwaliteit, jy gaan jouself seermaak. Bart, enigiets wat jy wil bysit?
Ja, ek sal graag wil sien wat is die reaksie, Karl.
Ja, daar gaat ons. Thanks a lot.
For Stadio, a qualification isn't just a qualification. It's more students inspired to reimagine their possibilities. With 5 faculties, 10 campuses, and over 50 accredited qualifications, undergraduate and postgraduate studies, contact, distance, and blended learning, we're transforming higher education into something that's truly multi-faculty, multi-campus, and multi-mode. Stadio, a new vision in higher education.